Hi folks, and welcome back to another episode of Fireside Friday Podcast. And today I've got my first guest. This is only episode 2, but I'm really glad to be getting guests on early. Like I said in the first podcast, my goal with this is to sort of go around and document the conversations I have with people by the fire, because I think that's where I certainly kind of pick up the most information, and it's the conversations I enjoy the most. So today I have Andrew with me. Andrew, sort of introduce yourself, tell us a bit about you.
Thanks mate, I'm Andrew. I own a farmstead over here in Ireland. Paul was mad enough to come over and join me in Ireland, where we built this actually. This was our plan this weekend, was a little kind of hunting shelter, I suppose would be the best way to put that one. We don't really know what it started with different plans, but we're here now with a hunting shelter, so it's a cool little thing like. So we own a farmstead here, as I said. We set this up about a year ago. We bought it 2 years ago, spent a year building the house or rebuilding the old house, and then we kind of started up this madness of a farmstead, which is the only kind of description of it, I suppose, would be. We've had this going for a mad year. You've been over twice now.
3 times?
3 times?
Is it 3 times?
I think.
Good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, sorry. Okay. It all kind of blends into one at this point. We opened this up with kind of more so of an aim of, we wanted to produce everything ourselves. It was the best way to put it. I grew up on a beef farm through my whole childhood, and it was a very good beef farm, but as you know, it's the beef industry, every industry, I just don't really agree with it. There's far too many chemicals, far too much things, unknowns, I suppose would be the best way to put it. The best example of that being, I've seen animals being given antibiotics that aren't supposed to go into food chains, and then a week later a different vet comes over, gives it a different injection to hide that one, and then the next day it's into the food chain. And that was the kind of the thing that set it in my mind, that I just wanted to produce everything ourselves, and then eventually start selling a bit of it, which we kind of have done this year, like. So yeah, no, it's been an interesting journey so far, and it's going to be a bit wilder, so it will be. You melting a bit already, are we?
Falling into fire there,
yeah, don't do that. Please God, we don't need a podcast designed around first aid. Like.
That would be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well actually that's not a bad shout, in fairness.
So you're saying, 2 years you've been on it?
2 years. You probably didn't see that on camera, we just lost a bird wing that just fell down there. It's never a normal day here.
No. 2 years you've been on it. How's that 2 years been like?
It's been a wild 2 years, so it has.
Tell me like the highs and the lows.
The highs definitely been our own food. Like we've harvested chickens, the duck that we're about to eat here now. This is a wild drake mallard that we're consuming. A few roosters here that are going to go on after. We've had 3 pigs. You've seen the madness of the pigs. Yeah. They've broken out a few times. I think the breaking out could be classed as one of the low ones for sure. They were in the neighbour's garden at one point. They were 4 fields away at one point. It was an interesting experience. The ducks or the pigs, absolutely. But yeah, we've done a good bit now, in fairness. We've planted, I think we're just over 160 apple trees. We've built or started just behind the camera here is our native forest, so we've about 400 mixed broadleaf. We have a few friends that obviously helped us plant that, because that was a venture in itself. We've harvested our own goats, we've harvested our own sheep. I do a lot of deer shooting and stuff like that, so we've kind of really not bought meat, apart from obviously the odd takeaway when you just don't feel like it on a weekend or something.
The odd dirty kebab.
The odd dirty kebab. You know about that yesterday, don't you? Apart from that, I think it's January since we properly did a meat shop, like. So it's a healthy way of living. We know exactly what goes into this. We know exactly how it lived. It had a better life than every animal that was in a farm of some form, or at least most farms that I know about. And then the humane killing as well. So it's a far better meat, you know what I mean? It's everything about it is far healthier, you know what I mean? And this is starting to look really tasty.
If the podcast suddenly disappears all of a sudden, or it gets cut and you come back,
it's because Paul's eating a load of duck.
It's because this is ready and we're smashing into it.
Oh, look at the juice coming out of that now.
So obviously, we're going to be eating this animal that you've raised, and you've raised quite a few animals that we have eaten already. how do you sort of create the space for you to be able to raise animals, sort of create a connection with them, and then sort of deal with the sort of
it's a weird one, like, because
obviously for those that can see him, we have this little rock star in the corner.
This is my baby, ain't you, Reki? Hey,
and
who's just waiting patiently for the duck as well, like.
So it's sort of, it's hard to sort of, for me anyway, it's sort of hard almost to draw the line between like a pet. I suppose you don't eat your pets would be one of the obvious lines.
Yeah,
like
and
you're spending sort of the same amount of time with an animal, and
but I think it more so boils down to the mindset. Like when we've had 2 cases that you know of. We had Fred the sheep. Fred was a sheep that came to me, and he was just going to remain my baby. You know what I mean? He was the most amazing sheep. He'd just follow you around the farm all day long. And in my mindset, he was a pet. You know what I mean? So he was a lawnmower, for the better term. You know what I mean? He was just going to cut the fields. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then the same one was Shenzi the pig, the brown and black pig that we had. Those 2, I was keeping them forever. And I noticed myself getting attached to them. Whereas every other animal that comes onto the farm, it's meat. You know what I mean? I think when you started with a mindset from day one of, I love this animal, I love caring for this animal, but that is meat, you know what I mean? You kind of have to do it from day one, otherwise, because I did get attached to Fred, I did get attached to Shenzi.
Oh, he was amazing, yeah.
Well, he was amazing till he turned.
He was, yeah.
So the backstory on that one was that Fred came from a friend of mine who has a homestead called Castletown Homestead, Brendan Harvey, really good guy. He bottle fed and raised Fred from day one, and he didn't have enough land. He ran out of grass, and I said, look, I have too much grass, so come on up and we'll just use him to cut the lawn. So eventually I fell in love with Fred, and he said to me, he was like, look, Fred's yours, he's your baby, you can have him. Like, so we kept him here, and then he just turned one day, and he just turned to, apparently it happens with all castrated male sheep, is at some point they'll just turn and they'll just become violent. And he attacked my wife, he attacked you, actually, didn't he get you a few times?
Yeah, I went to feed the goats, and he was in there, and he gave me a bit of a headbutt.
Yeah, it started out as light little headbutts, but what ended up happening was we were bottle feeding other sheep, Betty being the sheep that we have there at the moment that we're quite attached to, and Sarah bent down to bottle feed, and Fred got her in the centre of the back, and she was flat on her back in the field for 2 hours, and I was at work in Dublin, so I couldn't get back up, and it ended up, that was it. The line was drawn, because once an animal gets violent, we do a lot of the stuff on our own, because I work nights, so I work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday nights. So Sarah, my wife, would feed the animals a lot during the evening and stuff, and we can't have animals that are too dangerous that if you're on your own, it's going to cause an issue, you know what I mean? And I'm just watching the crows coming by here. You're going to learn this fairly quickly.
Also, if Andrew disappears out of this shelter for any particular reason, and then you hear a gunshot, it's because of the incredible crow problem that Ireland has, and the overpopulation in Andrew's lust to rectify that situation.
I love all animals, but my God, did I turn a vendetta against crows recently, because I think, you've seen the videos, like, so behind the camera there's a hill. Would you say maybe 500 metres of Stradone?
Yeah.
There's a small little village, and in that village is about 5,000 crows. Easily 5,000.
It's like, it's in the same way like when I'm down in London or somewhere like that, and you get the
pigeons.
You get the for London, it's like the background of the motorway. It's always there.
Oh right, yeah. The crows, you will never not hear crows. Like, they're just one of those creatures. And this is kind of the other reason we built this, was a little hunting shelter as well, because this is a flight path straight over this for the crows. No doubt they will change that fairly soon once we deal with a few crows. But there is a massive problem with them. Like, you'll even seen, I've never seen crows strip graze a field, which we had a field the next field over, and you can actually look at satellite images, because by pure fluke Google flew over with their satellite imaging. I'm going to show you this later actually. You can see where they've come in, and they've completely cleared because they dig the grass to get the worms and things like that. There's not a blade of grass in half the field. Because like, you go out in the morning, there'll be 700-800 crows, and that field's less than an acre. You know what I mean? So it's just massive problems with these crows. Like,
to strip through that, really.
No, not at all. They absolutely tear through it, so they do. And you can probably hear them in the background now. It never stops with these guys. This is looking very delicious. This is getting nicer and nicer as it goes. Like,
so just to skip back to something there. you were talking about the fact that Sarah, obviously Fred turned on Sarah and there was a bit of an issue there. When it comes to like the danger of being in a place like this, because obviously we've been busy, we've been making this, you've been busy with the chainsaw, you know, we made a nice bench. You're obviously running around in the tractor quite a lot. We, between us and Hale, quite a lot of lead paint out of choice. But there's kind of a lot of risk in that. Do you find the risk is worth the reward? Like, obviously the alternative is like spending more time in an office doing something that you probably wouldn't enjoy.
I wouldn't be able to do that, and there is a risk involved, and I think my wife kind of keeps me on track with that a bit, because it was actually the day before you arrived, I was going to fell some trees, and she looks at me, she was like, but I'm on my way to the office, and I was like, yeah. She's like, you're not felling trees on your own. That's just a level you're not going to. Like, and I'm thinking back, she was damn right, because you imagine if I was up that tree, like the oak tree, there was no way that was going to happen without someone else there. So there is a severe risk here. I think don't quote me on it, but I think that the highest injury rate of any job in Ireland is still farming. You know what I mean? And when you work with machinery like that, it's going to be, but I suppose you kind of take it to as safe as you can. And you've seen me with the chainsaw, like I'm full head to toe in safety gear. I've Kevlar trousers, jacket, gloves, helmet, ear protection, the whole shebang. Like, so yeah, there is a level of risk there, but you get to eat fresh game like this and stuff, you know what I mean? How can you say no to it?
You
like,
wouldn't complain, would you?
And I couldn't. I'm like yourself, I couldn't do a 9 to 5 in an office job. No. I tried it before. I moved to Dublin for a year, moved right into the city, 'cause that's where I originally was from. My family's from Dublin. We moved out when I was, I think, like 2.5 or 3 or something like that. Call myself a cabin man, but everyone in Dublin reminds me I'm still a Dublin lad, you know what I mean? Until they see this kind of stuff, and then they're like, nah, he's not a Dublin
anymore.
But yeah, no, I moved back. I took a year's lease with a friend of mine. 9 months into the lease, I was struggling with depression and everything like that, and I just said, I realised that I have to wake up in the morning and see green fields. That's that little trigger thing for me, you know what I mean? I work very close to Dublin. You might as well call it Dublin where I work. I work, as I call it, concrete jungle. I have no issues with that whatsoever, because I get to come home to here in the evening time, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so you're getting that sort of reward in the fact that you have stability in the fact you've got this job for 3 days of the week, but then you also have the madness that is sort of the Farmstead.
Madness is a damn good description of that. So it is, like, absolutely, it is pure mayhem. You ask any person that comes up here and they're just like, it's just the weirdest place you'll ever come to, like, which is very true in fairness. But I get to eat organic meat every day. We get to eat organic veg. We're within 5 to 7 years we're going to be harvesting a massive amount of apples with the amount of apples trees that we did plant. Berry bushes there. Our hedgerows are fantastic. Well, they're starting to become fantastic. This farm was a very much so managed farm for cattle before we took over, so it was green fields, tight hedges, you know what I mean? It was a barren landscape for wildlife, because as you say, you never see animals run around the middle of the field. You'll see them run along the hedgerows and stuff like that. And in ecology terms, they call hedgerows animal highways, because that's where the wildlife. Smoke killing me out here. Why'd you pick a podcast beside fire, like, you know what I mean? The hedgerows are the most important aspect of any wildlife area, because realistically all of Ireland is just farming fields.
So break that down a bit for people that because I know a little bit about it.
So
sort of explain why they're so important.
In the middle of a field, there's no food. There's nothing in the middle of a field apart from grass, and that's fantastic for cattle, sheep, goats, all the animals that are agriculturally produced in this country. But hedgerows provide cover, predators. Every animal has a predator. Fair enough, the crows don't, and that's why I'm managing them now.
Oh, they do. You sat right there.
Yeah, that's the predator right there. So it is. So it provides cover, it provides food, it provides nesting abilities. So every bird has to make a nest. The nests come from twigs, the nests come from moss, leaves, different things like that. That all comes from the hedgerows. It provides massive amount of food, especially our hedgerows. Our hedgerows are full of blackthorn, whitethorn, sloe berries. We've rose hips. We've quite a bit of hazelnut down the bottom. You know what I mean? It's food for them as well, as everything else. Like, so our plan kind of with Farmstead is we want to be able to produce our own food, but we also want to leave the land in a better spot than when we found it. It's this concept with 400 trees we planted behind the camera here. We're never going to see that, you know what I mean? It kind of all be in the ground way before that's an actual forest.
Yeah.
But it's that we can leave this land when we leave this earth as a better place than when we found it. Because when we found it, fair play to the manager or the guy that sold us the land, he didn't really farm for the last 10, 15 years. He just rented it out. They just put cows on it, cut the grass, baled it for silage and stuff in the winter time. And that was all they'd done. So kind of they make sure that the hedgerows are as thin as possible, because for every foot you lose the head or you gain on the hedgerow, you obviously lose a foot in the field.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's money to them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they would very tight, neat, dead hedgerows is the best way to put it, because there was absolutely nothing in it, you know what I mean? Sorry, I'm just going to flip this because this is looking...
We must be right there, are we?
Oh, I think we're there, like. I think we're... Let me grab a knife and check this one out before we dive into it.
I suppose this, like you say, being sat here, being able to sort of enjoy meat cooked this way, you know, on an open fire, something you've raised yourself, you've seen it living a good life. I suppose that's the real...
Oh, it's the huge benefit of it, like, and I do kind of always say that food tastes better if you've raised it, you know what I mean? You know, there's no unknown, like I was saying earlier, you know what I mean? You know exactly when I know exactly what this duck has eaten every day of its life from the moment it was born.
Yeah.
I know that there was no lead paint, as we like to put it.
Dessert maybe, yeah.
I think at some point we need to tell the backstory on the lead paint story, like. But yeah, no, it's a completely organic diet on this animal. There's nothing that can go wrong with it as long as you cook it properly,
Yeah.
which might not be the case here today.
Well,
but,
so yeah,
hey,
that's the real danger in this place, yeah.
But no, this thing is definitely. Oh, I wish you could turn the camera around now and watch the about 500
Oh,
crows.
wow. Feel free to run out there because they're heading this way.
Are they? Excuse me, watch that knife to your side there. Pause that for a second. We'll be back.
It didn't stick around for long, did they?
No, they did not, and that's the kind of plan with this. Even if you don't get them, you're scaring them enough to keep them off this land, and which is quite a good thing in fairness, because I really don't want them near this land anymore. What? I completely forgot what we were saying. I got distracted by killing crows.
Right, well, we're talking about raising the duck and everything else, but I suppose that sort of leads nicely onto the fact that it's a lot of work. Like, you're doing a lot of things here.
Oh, massive! It's every single day, 7 days a week. And
like, you can't, like, you know, whereas some people might sit down in front of the TV with their, you know, their dinner and just sort of get to sit and enjoy it. We're sat here, kind of, we're filming, we've got some food on the go, but you're also constantly keeping an eye on what's happening out there, because it does have an impact on the, you know, on the farm that you're on.
do you want to grab that glove
Not really.
so you don't melt your hand?
See, that's how much of a savage I am. I want to just
Deal with the pain afterwards, after you've consumed the duck. I like that. Yeah, no, it is, and it is a massive full-time job, like, and I think a lot of the people that I work with, because I do work in Dublin, it's a lot of city people that they don't understand how I do it. Like, I generally come home from work and I'll do a few hours on the farm, and then I'll go to bed, get back up, go back to work, and it's a lot of effort. It is it's a massive amount of effort, but
so
it's so rewarding.
that sort of brings me on to the next thing, which is the fact that you invite so many people here, and this is like such a hub for people.
Well, yeah, when we started this, or when we bought this first, we wanted to kind of be an open door policy, and if there's good like-minded people like yourself, like Carl, like Amo, there's Collie, Derek, how many people did we have up here last night? Like,
7 or 8, wasn't it?
we just sent a text message down, look, we're going to think of building a little permanent shelter, have a camp that night. We had 8 people up here, like a hot shot, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of deal is we provide the food, which is always organic meat, and they love that, so,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You'd have to be mad to turn that down.
Well, that's very true. That's some good duck.
That's good.
That is really good duck.
The garlic on there is nice too.
We need to invent the type of podcast so you can taste what people are eating. I think it'd win the world with that one. But yeah, it's even with the work, like, you can't take a holiday.
Yeah.
You know
Well,
what
this
I mean?
is it, yeah. So, like we were just saying, you know, someone might sit in front of their TV and eat their dinner and not think anything else of what's happening around them. We sort of disassociate with their surroundings almost. And of course, like TV, social media, that sort of thing, are almost like a drug in that way, and that they allow you to sort of escape your mind, or they alter your brain chemistry in such a way that you stop feeling the things that you might have been feeling through the day.
Massively, yeah. They are a way to switch off, which I kind of don't agree with, because you're kind of putting the problem on the long foot as well. Yeah. Ironically, I work in a social media company, that's what I do. But you know what I mean? I think if they knew I worked there, they'd probably just run away.
Yeah. But then you've got the juxtaposition here, where it's like you're always on edge. You know, like you see something in the corner of a field, and you're like, I'm going to go have a look at that.
Yeah.
It could just be someone, like the other day there, for instance, there was a shoot on, and we had people kind of walking along the field at the back here that we've been talking about. You know, and like, you're busy doing something, you know, you might be cutting away with a chainsaw, or you might be kind of, you know, throwing a structure together, feeding animals, whatever it is you're doing. You're always switched on.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have to have eyes in the back of your head. When we started this at the beginning, when we had the pigs and stuff, it was kind of culture shock. Not a culture shock, but we learned very quickly that you can't just go down and feed an animal and walk away. You know what I mean? It doesn't work like that. That animal will find a way to break out. Actually, only today, when we went to get the tripod from the camera, we were down here for so long, all the chickens broke into the neighbour's house.
Oh, no way.
That's what took me so long. I was running around chasing chickens, trying to get them back into our land, like,
yeah.
Put up a full fence for chickens. They just jumped straight over it, like. Right, it was just too delicious, that is. I will give you more, I promise.
So, going back to like the fact that like you have so many people down here, and they come down and they enjoy the space that you've created, but they help as well. I mean, the person that jumps to me is Almo. I mean, she's
Almo is an absolute hero. Like she pretty much lived here. Like, you know what I mean? That 400 trees, I'd say 200 of them were put in by Almo.
Yeah. So how much? What's your take on it? Do you think? Because there's people out there that have the idea of, well, I'm just gonna, especially it's prevalent in the bushcraft world, I'm just gonna head out into the sticks and, you know, make it my own way. And
you can't. Like, if you think about it, go back in our history, human history, we're sociable people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't. There is exceptions to it, but you don't hear a community set up by two people walking into a forest and, you know what I mean, live for the rest of their lives. You need help. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think it's more so like swallow your pride or something and ask for help, because that goes in many different walks of life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you can't. We couldn't do this without the help.
No.
Even building the house, Carl. It was mid-COVID, and Carl was off work. He being a bricklayer and a damn handyman as well.
Right.
And Carl just was like, right, come on, let's do it. And he came down, and that kind of led me into swallowing my pride of asking for help and stuff. Rocky, just because I put a bone down doesn't mean you go for it. Here, come on, up here. Straight away. This dog has been asleep for the last 3 hours. Soon as the food arrives, he's like, oh, I'm actually so awake.
It's the best fed dog in podcast.
Well, I won't argue that one. That dog eats better than I do half the time.
So, obviously, community in the sense that like people are required to make these things. I mean, like you say, you can do it yourself, but you'd be mad to, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Because with a lot of these things, farming especially, they sort of rely on a community. One person might provide one thing.
100%, absolutely. Like even to do with the regular farms around, I say regular because ours is not a normal farm whatsoever. But the beef farms around here and stuff, it could be 10 o'clock at night, you'll have a guy knock on the door and just be like, hey look, I'm moving cattle up the road, or the cattle broke out. They don't even ask for help, you just, yeah, cool, no worries, and you're off helping them, you know what I mean? It's you have to help each other, otherwise, Jesus, it'd be a fairly miserable existence in life, like.
Yeah. So how does that translate into like your personal life? So let's say, I mean, obviously we're great friends and have been for a while now.
My Scottish brother, no, as mad as I am.
But do you find like having a sort of team of people around you to help make this place work? Is it making the place work as much as it's making your mind work? Does it make you feel sort of more settled? Do you think you'd struggle more if you were sort of
Well, I was always
alone in that?
No, I was always a solitary person, like before Living to Learn, before we met, before I kind of got into the bushcraft, all that kind of scene. Like my whole childhood I just spent fishing on my own. My mum used to drop me down to the local river and be like, I'll see you either tonight or in a week, just, you know, send an odd text to say you're still alive, and that was it, like, you know what I mean? But yeah, since we started the farm and stuff, I have kind of somewhat turned more community based in my mind as well. Like, Jesus, how often do we talk?
Oh, all the time. Yeah.
Daily, if not minutely, like, you know what I mean? Yeah, no, it is. It's a community is an important thing. I do believe now in this day and age, especially with the amount of negativity in this world. You know what I mean? You gotta have good people beside you to build you back up. You know what I mean? Whether that works in physically, like a farm, emotionally, you can't do it all by yourself.
Look at that guy.
Hey, bud. You okay? Yeah, you're staring at the food there. Isn't that right? Hey.
Right, okay. we're gonna pause for a second. We're gonna eat this before it gets
overcooked.
Yeah, before Rocky jumps in the fire to steal it.
Not far from it. Come on over there, bud.
We will be back shortly. I'm sure we'll be telling you all about how this tastes, and we'll carry on from there. So stick with us, and we'll be back shortly.
I had no business being that tasty.
No. Okay, we're back. We had to stop for that and really enjoy it, because that was, as you can see, Andrew's still hands-on with a carcass. But
oh, you have to be hands-on with the carcass. It's the only way to do it.
that was.
I'll be somewhat polite.
That was unreal. Oh no, dig in, man. Don't let me stop you.
Well, you did insist now. One more bite.
Poor Rocky's gonna have an aneurysm. We're gonna.
Yeah, about a third of it. That dog will never say no to food, though.
No. It's probably the best fed dog I've ever seen.
Well, we did start kind of like you pulled out of the freezer the other day. Was that you that pulled that one out? The vacuum seal saying dog.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty much what a lot of his diet's based out of.
So the background on that would be obviously Andrew. I mean, you don't just have stuff in the farm; you go out and hunt and stuff as well, right?
Yeah. I do a lot of deer hunting because, well, two reasons. One, it's venison.
Yeah.
It's like the best meat in the world, and B, there's a massive overpopulation of deer in this country. Like, it's one of the big epidemics in this country for kind of animals.
Yeah.
I think they were saying, the last time I seen the statistics was like 2019, that they needed to cull 110,000 deer in this country.
Jesus.
Just to stop the numbers increasing.
Yeah.
I wasn't to reduce the numbers, I was just to stop increasing to the next year.
Up. Yeah.
It's massive, but we wiped out all the wolves.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And when the wolves were here, it was like 80% forest. This whole country was. You know what I mean? Now it's just farmland and no wolves.
Yeah.
So you've got farmland that's getting absolutely destroyed. Fencing doesn't matter. I don't care what anyone says, unless you're going Jurassic Park style fencing. No fencing stops a deer. Like,
yeah.
I've seen red deer walk straight through high tensile steel, and what they do is you know the way they lose their antlers every year.
Yeah.
You know that they create when they're creating the new antlers, they have what they call velvet. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
so they rub that to get, when it dies off, when the antler stops growing, they have to rub all that off because it dies off, and that's when you get the pictures of the mad like blood all over the antlers, and it looks insane. Like, but yeah, no, they rub that, and the place that they seem to love doing it for some reason is fencing. And when you have a 200-300 pound red stag that's rubbing his head on against, it just destroys fencing. Like, either that or they run straight through it. I've seen hinds, female deer, like running just straight through steel fencing, bang, and they just keep going. Like, they're incredible creatures. Like.
So you're out hunting then, and pheasants, duck, partridge, all sorts of stuff, right?
Oh, don't start that list. That's a dangerous list to start. Like,
but all that to say, Andrew has a collection of freezers, probably one of your most prized possessions, I think.
my 6 freezers.
Yeah.
I have 6 chest freezers going at any one time.
And in there, he has sort of joints of everything. I mean, it's like heaven opening that thing. But we were in there the other day, selecting some food for the sort of little event we had just yesterday, and I pulled a bag out and I was like, "Oh, what's this?" And Andrew goes, "Oh, that's dog." And for all the world,
Written across it was dog. Yeah.
But that's like classic sort of. That's your humour all over, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I made a mistake with doing that, and I stopped doing that because I don't know. I think I wrote like neighbour's cat or something. So, background of that is each freezer has a different animal. So I have 2 freezers dedicated just to venison, 1 to pork, 1 to poultry, i.e. duck or pheasant. And when I was putting all the ones into the venison, I was getting very bored because I was vacuum sealing like 70 bags or something like that of meat. And I got to the stage where I just started having a laugh and writing stuff on it because I knew it was all venison that was going into that freezer. So I wrote neighbour's cat, I think it was, or something like that. And a friend was over and he made a barter with me, because bartering, as you know, is just the way forward in this world, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So he bartered something with me. I was like, yeah, I got a load of venison there, threw it into a bag, he took it home, threw it into his freezer. Like 2 weeks later, he goes to cook it, and he rings me, he goes, why'd you give me a dead cat? What the hell are you talking about? He sent me a picture. I was like, oh look, I explained to him, I was like, I'm only messing and all this. And then I was chatting to him like a week later. I was like, so what was the venison like? He was like, no, we gave it to the dog.
No way.
He goes, yeah, because it just didn't seem right. Like, I was like, okay, that's the last time I'm ever doing that. Like, so from now, and in fair, my defense, the piece you picked up, it said dog meat, but just meat was written a lot smaller than dog was in bold capitals. Like, but yeah, going back to him being the best fed, he's pretty much on a wild game diet. He gets a lot of corns and stuff like that, and meal and stuff, but most of his food is wild game, because there's a lot of a deer that you won't eat. You know what I mean? There is a lot of bad meat on deer, or meat that's not worth trying to get off deer. But like the necks and stuff like that, he'll eat the spines and stuff like that. He'll munch away at them all day long. Well, you know I'm talking about, don't you? That's exactly what it is. And you know the duck's just over there. That's what it is.
That's what it really is, I think. So, like, because that's one of the things I love. But I mean, I think it's true of Ireland as a country as a whole, because there's obviously some of the greatest comedians I've ever seen come out of Ireland. But like comedy, especially the kind of Farmstead where you're working so hard, you're surrounded by some quite serious issues, like dealing with death, dealing with the danger of injury and harm when you're working away on stuff. I mean, comedy seems to be like the way.
You do have to have a level of comedy in it, otherwise I think you would just lose your mind very quickly. Like, yeah, no, I'd 100% agree on that one. And I think that's why we got on so well, because my sixth sense of humour just kind of folds perfectly into yours, so it does.
That's very true, yeah.
Yeah, no, I would agree with the comedy aspect of it. It's vital, because there's long days. I remember one of the days, me and Amo, we were clearing out the ditches. So, as you know, that fence lot, or that boundary line of my land is a stream, and we had to clear that out. I think we were 18 hours in that ditch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you weren't laughing at each other and making slags at each other or something, you would have given up after about 4 or 5 hours, or that's it. You would have swung a shovel at someone's head or something. You know what I mean? Hey.
And how do you so how have you been? Obviously, like, we're both on Living to Learn, and that's like an amazing community for people that are into these sort of activities, whether it be like, you know, bushcraft or farmsteading, whatever. It sort of melds all outdoor activities into like one thing, where people can cross. Has that been the way you've been able to like find these people? Because I mean, like, it takes a certain kind of person to be able to come and deal with those things. Right?
Dude, it takes a certain kind of madman to deal with them things. But yeah, I would, like, probably all of my close friends, or my closest friends, I would say, because I don't have a huge amount of friends. I kind of keep my circle nice and tight. I trust every one of my friends in my life, you know what I mean? But all my really good friends, they all came, I think, Live to Learn, or if not some branch of it, like Colin Reddy's Rancho experiences. Like, that's where I met Amo, you know what I mean? And Jesus, Amo, I think, lived here more than I did at one point, you know what I mean? Like, I just remember some days, like, landing up and like she'd be knocking on the door. I'd be like, oh well, Amo, you're up. And she's like, yeah. So I'm heading down to Farm, see you later. Like, alright, see you, Amo. Like, okay, like, you know what I mean? Amo, Collie, Carl, them being the two admins as well, Joe, Mark, yourself. I met you through Living to Learn. All of my close friends have kind of branched out from Living to Learn, but it was a major part of all of our lives for a huge amount of time, you know what I mean? It was all we done was Living to Learn, you know what I mean? Probably should explain to the folks at home what Living to Learn is.
Go for it. You're the man for the job. Go for it.
Living to Learn was an online community set up on Facebook years and years ago now, and it's to teach anything to do with the outdoors through a free medium. So we just, it's all free information. There's no selling allowed on the page. It's all family friendly, and it's a fantastic community. You know yourself, you're the Scottish ambassador to it.
I love it to bits.
It's a brilliant way to meet people. If you've ever any question of something you're unsure of, if it's anything to do with the outdoors or skill or trade, because, like, you know, Derek Power, he does a lot of leather work. He's obviously not sitting outside all the time doing his leather work, he's inside doing it. But anything like that, skills, natural hobbies, and oh my god, look at them all. Sorry, getting distracted here again. Like, anything to do with skills or even life skills as well, like, it's all welcome on the page, you know what I mean? And it's a great community. We've met so many people. We've done some amazing trips. We had the Scottish or the Swedish gathering just before COVID. that was an amazing trip. We've had Irish gatherings, we had a UK gathering. We do a lot of kind of weird stuff, and we also do like the patch runs. One of the patches you're wearing now. Like, it'll kill me now that I'm not wearing a single patch. Like, but
right, that's it.
Fired immediately. Yeah, no, like the patch runs, they all go to charity. This one that we done, you see Mark done the
new camel patch.
Yeah, that was a hot seller, so it was. But that went for a veterans charity in Ireland, you know what I mean? So it's cool, like, it raises quite a bit of money. I think, like, Jesus, every patch run must weigh well over $1,000, I would say, every time, you know what I mean? And we do them every few.
And it is just instantly, isn't it?
Oh god, yeah. Like, I think one of the patch runs was like 32 minutes for 100 patches to sell out, like, you know what I mean? They are gone instantly. There's people messaging all the admins being like, so, you know, when's the starting? Because we always do, like Joe done for this one, Joe done a post being like, you know, kind of just getting the rhythm going of it and getting people excited for it, being like, oh look, new patch is coming soon, you know what I mean? And by the moment he pressed post, it's like we're all getting messages, so when's that happening? Do you know what time that would be going on sale for? Is like, I know one lad that booked off a day in work to make sure that he wasn't busy so he could buy the patch, like, you know what I mean? They are very much so a wanted thing, like.
So you kind of have that online community that sort of brought us all together, but sort of, what's been your experience? Because also the guys you just mentioned there, a lot of the guys that'll be watching this that know the people we're talking about. But what's been your experience in regards to offline skill sharing and stuff like that? Obviously, Carl is an amazing builder. You know,
well,
Collie's
what are we sitting under?
Well, this is it. This is
yeah, I mean, you came over
from
from Scotland. We built this thing. You know what I mean? Like, with the help of a load of other people.
Yeah.
Same with massive amounts. Like, the best example I can give is Carl.
The house.
Carl in the house, so, like, oh my god, like.
Tell us about the house, and then from there we can go into smoking lead paint.
Oh yeah, smoking lead paint, that's always a good one. We bought the house.
That's if you can resist the urge to run it there.
Oh my god. That's easily 600 or 700. I wish the camera had a 360 angle on it.
Nice if it was a button I could just go
and it spins around, like, yeah. There is probably, including all of the sky, we can see about 1,000 crows flying.
Which just goes to show how much of a problem they are.
Yeah,
it goes to show
massive.
how, like, I've been here 3 times, and now whenever I see a crow, I'm also on edge.
Yeah, there's so many of them here. Like the story I was telling you earlier, we seen roughly about 30 crows kill a buzzard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That buzzard was not bothering anyone, he was just flying through. Crows got defensive and they just hammered him in the sky until he came to hit the ground, and once he hit the ground, that was it. There was
just carnage.
It was mayhem, like, you know what I mean? But yeah, back to the house. We bought the house 2 years ago. It's an old farmhouse. It's, that we know of, it's 460 years old, but we were told it was old when that was dated, so it's 460 plus is the best way to put it. Carl came up and walked me through every single thing you can do to build a house. We completely rebuilt the house, so everything from the floors, first floor, the attics, all the walls came down. Like, I remember when my wife coming in one point, and I didn't really tell her that we were taking the whole first floor out at the time.
That's never a good move.
She knew it was happening, but she didn't know it was happening that day. And she walks in the door, and she had this thing to deal with. She was like, she would always feed us. Like, whoever came up to help was fed by Sarah, and I got to give her credit for it. She's
amazing.
Jesus Christ, she really did keep us going. Like, even last night she did.
Oh, she always does. Yeah.
But yeah, no, so she came in with a venison chili or something like that, walks in the door, looks up, and there's no first floor, just goes, no, can't deal with that today. Just gets back in the car and off she drives. Like, I rang her, I was like, everything okay? And she's like, yeah, that was just a bit much for me now. And I was like, okay, fair. But yeah, Carl, Collie, the load of lads ended up teaching me so much about it. Like, even Carl's still teaching me shit about building and stuff, because he's a, as I like to call him, a master bricklayer, because he just doesn't make bricks, he makes artistic stuff that's just incredible. His pizza oven is the best case of that.
Yeah. And any way you can explore a pizza oven is the best. Yeah.
If you look up Rancho Experiences online, there's one of his permanent pizza ovens is down in Collie's place, and it's oh my god, it's amazing. Like, they really are incredible things. We ended up actually having a gathering where he brought a pizza oven, a collapsible
Is this the one they brought up the hill?
Yeah, this was up the Wicklow Mountains, like, you know what I mean? And that thing, I think he done 190 pizzas or something like that over the 2 days. We just give them out for free, like, you know what I mean? But the man is just unbelievable when it comes to building it. Like that pizza oven, you could have lifted with one hand. You know what I mean? But it was a full-size pizza oven. It was just, he comes up with these ideas and they're just incredible, so they are.
Oh, I love it, yeah. Well, we often say to each other, don't we, we'd love to spend like an hour on that guy's head.
Yeah, one half of me would, the other half would be scared to spend an hour on that guy's head. Like,
yeah, it'd be nice if it wore off in about 12 hours.
Yeah, no, he's a legend in fairness. He really is. He taught me everything to do with building that house. I wouldn't have that house without him. And yeah, he's really one of the good people, like. But yeah, I met him through Living to Learn as well. Like, it's that society. I was very much so a loner before that, and that society, or that community, should I say, just I got all my best friends from that. You know what I mean? It's fantastic.
And have you found there's much of a community in terms of also the house and the building and the actual structures and stuff you have to put in place, and the hard physical work is obviously one thing that you can share with people. Have you found that there's people you can speak to, you can trade with in regards to the meat you produce or the apples? And
absolutely, yeah, no, 100%. Like, I fully, like yourself, live off a bartering system. I honestly believe it's the way forward for this world. Like, and geez, I'd say probably 1.5 of all those pigs that we slaughtered, all that went for bartering.
Yeah.
I'd say well over half of my venison that I get goes to bartering as well.
Which is a lot.
Yeah, 100%. Two of our good friends, Milk and Andy from Main Photography, they do a full bartering system with us now. Like, you know what I mean? If we need photos done for whatever it is, I'll land up with a couple of legs of venison to them, and that's it done. You know what I mean? It's the best way to do it in this world. I really do believe it.
And do you think so if your vision of the future, if you could pick it out, how would it look? Do you think you'd do away with sort of, let's say, money? Would you prefer small communities of people trading and exchanging goods, or how do you picture it?
But at the same time, it's completely naive. We're in a society that if we didn't have money, it would collapse, it would turn into pure anarchy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there'd be lads landing down with shotguns to my farm to steal all my food. Like, you know what I mean? But yeah, we do want to kind of somewhat set up through the farmstead, through how we're doing this, is work off people's strengths. Like Liam O'Groach, he's after buying, or he has a bit of land there, should I say, and he's going to start homesteading as well. But me and him have both already set it in a plan of, like, if he's rearing pork, I'm not going to. I'll rear chickens, you know what I mean? And then I'll swap half my chickens for half his pork, you know what I mean? And that way of doing things, because you can't be a one-man army, you know what I mean? It's impossible to do that. So yeah, no, I'd love to see a full bartering system come into play for all the stuff that comes off my farm. I'd be happy if nobody gave me a penny for anything I produce on my farm. I'd be more than happy to barter stuff all day long.
Do you ever find, because one of the things I think we both find really difficult is the sort of waste culture we find ourselves in. Do you find that...
Insane. Absolutely insane. Do
you find that the way you're doing things just now sort of minimises the waste? Do you find you have much waste, or does everything get used, or how do you deal with it?
I don't want to say everything gets used. We still do have a recycling bin, you know what I mean?
Of course,
and one that gets collected and stuff like that. But salvaging is unbelievable. Like, what, this cost us nothing.
No.
This is an old wrecked tent that was absolutely destroyed. All the poles were gone, there was holes in it and stuff. This is wood from our forest, you know what I mean? Even with the building of, like, the chicken or the pig enclosures and everything, that was all salvaged. That was all found in ditches and stuff like that. I have 2 ploughs that I'm getting that I found in a ditch in Donegal, that I made a barter for pork for one of them, like, you know what I mean? Yeah, I do like to think we'd like to remove as much waste as possible, because you see the rivers in India and stuff like that, and you see this floating island of plastic in the ocean now and stuff like that. It's insanity. And it's all our doing as well. That's the worst thing about it, you know what I mean? It's 100% our doing, but it's just, people are lazy. I'm myself included. Humans are, we're ingrained to be lazy and complacent, you know what I mean? That's what humans are like. So I think, yeah, we can remove as much as possible while still being realistic about it, you know what I mean? I'm still going to recycle bottles, things like that. We've still got our glass recycling, but we do like to try and reuse everything. Like the sheds that were up by the house that we took down, like, we salvaged all the corrugated off that. We salvaged most of the brickwork out of that to then put into a next project, so that's in storage at the moment. You've seen the amount of wood that's down the back of that shed. Every bit of that wood was for firewood. Like, I went down to 5 or 6 different building sites, and they just had piles and piles of perfectly good wood, but it's cheaper for them to burn it than bring it to the next job
Ship
or
it
anything,
elsewhere.
you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So it's just chuck it all out. All the insulation for our house, we bought one roll of insulation for the entire house.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Everything else was being dumped. And perfectly good boards and stuff, to just be a chip missing out of them or something like that, we just worked around that, you know what I mean? Cut a piece of the board off, fill it with another piece of an offcut, and there was no issues with that. You okay there, mate? He just knows, because he knows that the food is over there, and he'll slowly creep further this way.
I don't think he's forgotten about that.
No, this is all a play for him just to get closer to the food. Isn't that right, mister?
So how do you, I mean, like when we speak to each other online, say when I'm back in Scotland, quite often the messages I get from you is like, one of my favourite pictures of you actually is one you sent me when you were working on a bit of machinery. The machinery's in the background. You're standing facing it like this.
That was a long day, that was.
How do you deal with that? Like, so for me, so like say when I'm working on a project, like I was telling you about the shelter I made. So we were making this shelter, and I was sort of
your human deadfall trap.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. So like I was making a shelter, and I was telling Andrew about it because we were sort of discussing the ideas for this one, and I was saying, you know, we want to try and make something sturdy that's going to last. And I was explaining that, you know, I've made shelters in the past, and I've literally stood back, and this was fairly recently. I've stood back, picked up my camera, just about to press the button on the camera, and the whole thing just collapsed. Everything. And then you have to start from sort of square one and work your way back.
Even less than square one, because you have to clean the area and then start it again.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you, I mean, you must encounter that with, like, say, mechanical failures or...
Oh, you mean about the...
certain things that don't work right the way you want them to.
What was it, the finger mower that nearly took my head off?
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, that was a great experience.
How do you,
one was.
Do you ever see your, like, are there days where you wake up and you go, I wish I wasn't doing this anymore?
Never.
I get a feeling.
I've had days like with that, with the finger mower exploding and sending the blade over my head.
Now you see, you know he's serious because he said that so casually.
Yeah, so we had a finger mower that I was restoring, and the only part of it I was unsure about was the blade, so I bought a brand new blade for it. Should have left the old blade in it, because the brand new blade snapped and sent literally the blade over the top of my head. Things like that, I gotta credit my wife to it. She's amazing. It just
she's got
take a breath.
She's got you insured, right?
Oh, massively. I'm insured like 4 times over. Like, she wasn't that stupid, you know what I mean? As soon as she was like, farm, yeah, life insurance, yeah, grand, thanks very much.
So it's just a case of waiting, really.
Yeah, she's just biding her time, like, you know what I mean? She gets a free farm by the end of it. I do separate myself quite a bit when I get to those days, and that pond field is that's my mecca for it. You know what I mean? The amount of times I'll just grab a bit of food or something, grab my dinner, and just disappear down to that bottom field and just sit. You know what I mean? I think you understand that better than anyone. Just sitting in the environment, and that feels kind of weird. You wouldn't know that you think you're in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean? Because there's hills all around it. You can't see a single house from that field even. You know what I mean? And that's kind of my go-to. Just
and that's your sort of
decompression area, I suppose, would be the best way to put it. Because you do especially with farming, and if you're going to do it like we do it, like we've no new machinery. I'm sure Paul's posted a picture of the tractor, 1961 Massey 35, no power steering or anything on that thing. Like, so things do go wrong. Absolutely, you can't avoid that. You know what I mean? But it is to do with just take a breath, get away from the situation, decompress a bit, and then go back to it with less blood pressure in your system, I suppose is the best way to put it.
Hopefully because you relaxed, not because you've gone through something.
Yeah, well that's also very true. Not like a finger blade mower cutting off my head or something. And as I said, Sarah's a huge credit. That she can see straight away when I'm hitting my point, and she's like, right, Andrew, yeah, just go for a walk. And it sounds so bad. We had a really bad time once when we were redoing the house, where just things went wrong. It ended up costing us more money and stuff like that. And she could see that I was hitting a meltdown point. She goes, Andrew, you just need to go kill something. Just take the gun and go hunting. You know what I mean? Bring back dinner of some form, but just go out into those. And I disappeared up to Donegal. I spent 2 days up the mountains in Donegal, brought back a deer, and I was like a kid at Christmas, but all over again. You know what I mean? So I have a few methods of it, but
so explain that, because like, I don't know, so let's say I get stressed or something, let's say my other half, Katie, she doesn't tell me to go out and kill something. She wants to go out for a walk. But let's
Yeah.
sort of elaborate on the importance of killing something from your point of view, because like so there's people out there that might be thinking, oh well, that's just crazy that you go out and kill something to sort of.
It's not even kill something though. Like it's like the last time I shot a deer, I think I done 14 kilometers up the Donegal Mountains. You know what I mean? It's more so to immerse yourself in the outdoors again. You know what I mean? It's just that's her kind of catchphrase, I suppose, for it. Like, because if I'm out there, I'm usually hunting. You know what I mean? So it's go walk a river and find a duck or something.
There's the importance of you know, if you go out and take an animal, and it's something we're so far removed from, and you'll no doubt attest to that, is the fact that these are living creatures that we depend on, and they are our sustenance, you know. And
where'd you get the chicken? Super Value.
Exactly. Yeah.
Shop. What? Wrapped in plastic. Like that's like my mother. That's what she was like for years. And when I started hunting, my mum was a vegetarian for 26 years. You know what I mean? And she owns an animal sanctuary. She was very against hunting. I started into it. She never stopped me hunting in any way, shape, or form. But when I sat down with her and explained to her that, like, what she eats, or what generally a huge part of the population eats, is born in misery, is force-fed food, it lives in squalor. Even what you call it, free-range chicken farms and stuff, they're still packed into sheds at night time, you know what I mean? They're still they're fed not natural food, it's pellets, you know what I mean? It's pumped full of chemicals. Then the killing process on them is horrific, you know what I mean? It's hung by your legs, and I probably won't get into it too much, it's not the nicest stories, but they don't, it's not the most humane way to kill animals, you know what I mean? Whereas what I eat was born in the wild, lives in the wild, completely free, dead.
All of a sudden, and that's the way I'd want to go.
That's 100% how I'd want to go, you know what I mean? And if someone's going to eat me for that reason, oh, well for them, happy days, you know what I mean? Rocky, do you want to get over there? Over there. Get into your bed, lie down. Yeah. Paul can give you attention now. I do firmly believe that it's a far kinder way. People are like, oh, you hunt, you're so evil and all. I'm like, no, I'm actually kinder to my animals, to the animals that I dispatch, than you are to what you eat. Just because you didn't have to deal with the aspect of it dying doesn't mean it was okay, like, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean it had a good life in any way, shape or form. It's just you want to be naive to it, or you want to just blank out that and have an easy life, you know what I mean?
Say ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, exactly, ignorance is bliss, 100%, that's it, you know what I mean? I don't agree with it. I don't think it's the right way to live in any way, shape or form. If you're willing to eat an animal, you have to be willing to rear it, you have to be willing to dispatch it, you have to be willing to butcher it, cook it, eat it. You know what I mean? It's not just to go make someone else deal with that problem and then I get the benefits of it. I don't agree with that at all.
Because when we were eating that duck there, for instance, and this is sort of what I was leading to, is the fact that, like, I was eating the duck and it tastes unreal. Delicious.
Nah, you wouldn't eat that. I wouldn't eat that anyway.
I think Rocky might did by the state.
Yeah.
But we were eating that duck, and I said to Andrew, you know, there's something about game that has like a really primal taste. Like, you feel just eating something gamey, you actually feel. For me, anyway, I felt sort of like it feels almost more connected to.
Yeah, and there's a huge intense flavour to it as well. Like game, I will fully admit, is not for everyone, but I think it's also to do with that something that people don't eat that often. You know what I mean? General day-to-day people going to an office, it's chicken or beef or holy mother of God, that is some amount of crows.
I've never seen that many crows here.
Have you ever seen that many crows in one place in your life?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah. Just I'll bury that one down deep and just pretend they're not there.
It's gonna start twitching in a minute.
Yeah, exactly. Game is something that people don't get to consume on a day-to-day basis, apart from us. And I think that's why you get that primeval kind of feeling off it. And you're eating the ground. Like, when you bail down to it, like, what you're eating, where that meat came from is that grass out there, or those hedgerows out there, you know what I mean? And it connects you, definitely connects you more to the earth. I would 100% agree with that. Can you stop?
He knows.
Please.
He knows. So, yeah, because the taste of the things you're producing is very primal, but actually we're having a laugh about kind of the structure we built here, because we had so many of us here. It's made with an old head, it's held up with screws and all sorts, and we had to make do with the time that we had, the materials we had, and we did make do. But everything you're trying to sort of achieve on the farm here is like, it really harks back to like the earliest days of man. You know, when we started going from hunter-gatherers to people that were farming and sort of becoming self-sufficient. The idea being that you could stay in one place and grow enough food to sustain yourself and a little community of people. Do you feel like there's a connection for you in that? Do you ever look at what you're doing now and think, actually, I'm just sort of going back into what it was?
Oh, 100%. What we do here, we're just going back in time, 100%. Like, no doubt about it. There's far easier ways. I could have sticked up 10 battery damn your fire podcast.
Doing it live.
Yeah, like we could have stuck up a massive industrial chicken farm here, and that's not how I want to do it. You know what I mean? I want to kind of somewhat relive the olden days. As I said, my wife keeps telling me I'm a 30-year-old man in about a 60-year-old body. Like,
and do you say you want to like relive the olden days? Obviously you do, because we're where we are right
sitting
now.
under this right now. Yeah.
What is it about that draws you in? Obviously there's like the self-sufficiency. But do you feel like, so for me a lot of the time I feel like I'm born in the wrong time, which is like a weird thing to say. Do you feel anything like that?
Yeah, 100% as well, because I'm one of those people that really doesn't like this. I've never played games consoles, I was always to do with the outside. Rocky, bud, you just want cuddles, is that it? Right, come here. Now, are we happy now? Okay, that's better. Yeah, no, I do. I didn't grow up as a normal child, I suppose, the way you put it. I spent my whole childhood outdoors, you know what I mean? And that's where the love started from. But it kind of just dragged me into the... How did
you sort of, so for me, I sort of had a different upbringing, and that's something that we can talk about later. But how did you go from sort of being brought up outdoors, then going through like the education system, where you're firmly indoors for quite a long period of time?
Failed it horribly, that's how. I went from school to the outdoors, like every day. I grew up on...
So you didn't lose touch with it or anything?
No, and I grew up, my next door neighbour had a beef farm. So my mum moved to Cavan with me and my brother, and we moved to this area, and your man next door didn't have any kids, and I kind of walked in at the age of about 4.5 and just never left his farm. Like, I just completely fell in love with his farm, fell in love with the way he done things. He was a very much so an old school kind of dude, you know what I mean? We would still cut hay with a scythe, even though he had a tractor there. I don't know why we would do it, thinking back on it, like, but we would still cut hay with a scythe. We would still rear all the animals in an old-fashioned traditional way, you know what I mean? We used to have one cow there for milking and stuff like that was hand-milked and everything, you know what I mean? I think that's kind of started the addiction, I suppose would be the best way to put it, into the old way of doing things. And it's more natural. I don't agree with the new modern way of farming. New modern way of farming is destroying the earth.
Like, they have like tractors that will plough fields autonomously and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. If you look at the new John Deere tractor, you're talking like 2 million for a tractor. Like, what? That thing out there cost me way under that. Like, it's I don't know. I just don't agree with it. But the farming is also no choice. You know what I mean? Because if farming didn't adapt to the way it's doing it, the human race would starve to death. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. Do you ever think about what would happen if, like, say, it went wrong?
If it went wrong,
let's say like there was I don't know, some sort of situation, maybe an injury, maybe you finally got squished by that tree branch or something.
Well, that's going to happen at some point.
Sarah finally tries to take out the life insurance on you.
I'm found in a ditch somewhere. Like,
do you have like a plan? What or are you just 100% in on this? Like,
no, I'm 100% in. It's if I go, even as I said to her, I was like, I'm not worrying about all these old age diseases, because I'll end up at the age of 60 and having a massive stroke. And I just told her, just stick the plough on the tractor, plough it into the field, and don't worry about the funeral. Like,
I was literally just about to say that is the thing that you tell me the most.
If
anything happens to me, just plough me into the ground and I'll become part of.
Yep. If you have to, just into the forest there, bury it. I'll become fertilizer. Happy days.
And so, like, I'm
not worried about it afterwards.
Obviously, we sort of say that like semi-jest and semi, I'm actually going to bury you if that ever happens.
Oh, but I've 100% told myself that the one thing that would cripple me, if this whole thing that once you die there's an afterlife and all of that, and if I was looking down and I seen a headstone with my name on it, I'd strike lightning on that headstone or something, you know what I mean? I cannot understand that. I would much rather, cremate me or something, whatever you want to do, because I don't think you're actually allowed to bury people. There's laws that protect that and stuff like that, you know what I mean? But that's what I said, I was like, if it's the case, you cremate me and you put me underneath a tree. Plant a tree there, you know what I mean? Something that will benefit the world, you know what I mean?
And that's, so sort of moving on from that, kind of, you do all of this, and we're talking about the trees there earlier on, and the fact that you're planting them now. You might not see the fruit, or you'll see the fruit, but you won't get
the apple trees. I will.
Yeah, you won't get to like sort of admire them.
Was it that you won't get to sit under the shade of the canopy?
That's
is the way to look at that one.
And do you take a lot of comfort from that, sort of the legacy of the fact you're putting time into this?
Yeah, 100%. Because when I'm gone, I'm gone. That's it. End of story. It's over. We're only a grain of sand in the world, or on a beach. If you think about the large scale of the world, like. But if I can make a slight little difference once I'm gone. For example, 400 trees sitting there. Yeah. If I can widen every hedgerow, you know what I mean? I truly believe I can leave this place a better spot than I found it. There's nothing more fulfilling, I don't think, than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm bored now. I want attention.
Doggy, ain't you?
He has not been this active in 3 days, like. And now, as soon as you put a camera on, he's like, I might disrupt you a little bit, like.
For the duck, that's what he's after. We both know it, don't we?
Show me to peel off a bit of duck, Rocky.
So that's kind of, that's the thing I find most inspiring about it, because it takes, I mean, in today's world where we have like instant gratification and everything's like a click of a button, or if you want something, it can arrive at your house within a day, sometimes less.
Not in Cavan. You don't get that arriving in a day, mate.
There's certain bits of Scotland that doesn't happen either.
Or most of Scotland, otherwise known as.
But I mean, I really admire the fact that like that's your outlook on it, because it's a difficult thing to see people living so selfishly. We were talking about population the other day, weren't we?
Yeah.
The fact that like people are so busy at the moment living their own lives and being sort of absorbed in what they're doing, and in some aspects you have to kind of admire that people now have the ability to go and do what they want and can live a bit more freely. But at the same time, it's like you have to have something in you that's saying, actually, I'm not the sum of everything, and there's going to be future generations, and I have to consider them.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the concept of the trees. Like, I want my kids to sit under them trees. You know what I mean? Or I want, God forbid, whatever happens, this land's not in our name or something. I want somebody to enjoy them trees, even if it's not a person, even if it's a bird or a pigeon nests in one of those trees. You know what I mean? At least you know you've helped that part of the world somewhat, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And how do you we're doing fireside conversation, so I'm sure you'll get this, but it's a grim conversation sometimes with people. And
we've had grimmer, I can guarantee you.
It depends very much on your outlook on life sometimes, I think. But how do you see it going? Like, if you were to look at the future now, let's say we'll both be gone. This probably will still be standing because it's held up in the air.
No, Carl didn't build it. If Carl built it, it'd still be standing.
But how, like, what's your vision of the future? You know, obviously we want to try and pass on the natural skills we're learning and how to be comfortable outdoors and help nature sort of persist through the troubles that are sort of the modern world encroaching on it. What's your vision of that? How do you think
it's a sad vision of it, but I think there's far less of us than there is of other people. You look at the way cities are growing, you know what I mean? Unless there's some change that's going to really destroy the population or something, which I don't see happening anytime soon. I think they'll become more efficient farming, but more detrimental to the wildlife. There'll be more forests taken down. Like, you look at the Amazon, you know what I mean? We all knew that is one of the biggest carbon suckers in the world. Yet we're still hacking that thing to bits like there's no tomorrow, you know what I mean? Yeah. I don't think humans are capable of learning. I think the earth will eventually turn its tides and turn around and go, no, I don't want you there anymore. And if Mother Nature says that, then we won't be around to worry about it, you know what I mean? Like, but that's why I want my little spot, that at least I can turn around and say, I made a slight bit of difference, you know what I mean? I think that's important.
I think that's...
Come here for cuddles, right? Come here. Now, are we good? Are we happy now? Yeah. Do you want to just talk in the podcast? That's what the problem here is. You don't like that you're missing out on the podcast. Not it. Tell us a story. Nope. Just smell and duck.
He'd have some interesting stories we could talk. Some of the stuff about dogs.
He's had a mad life, so he has. Yeah, he's a good life though. He roams free on a farm every day.
Oh yeah.
Couldn't have a worse life, could you, mate? Eh?
Well, it's been a pleasure
Hey.
recording one of our conversations. I mean, we obviously talk all the time about fucking all sorts of stuff.
The weird. Before you go, you have to explain the lead paint.
Oh no.
The lead paint fire.
Well, so this stems from you renovating the house, right?
Yeah.
And ripping out all the walls and doors and furniture and bits of skirting board, everything. And it was all it's a lead paint they used at that time to paint everything. Wasn't
Yeah,
it?
and there was like 14 layers of lead paint on everything.
And it was thick. And it
We didn't fully know this.
and it all came down. And of course, what do you do with that? Well, the obvious thing would be to burn it, sit around a fire.
We had a big campfire. We enjoyed ourselves. We got a load of people over.
And now we have this sort of running joke on the fact that we quite like the
The lead paint.
we quite like the lead paint, and we're sure it's doing something to us. I've been having some very crazy dreams of late.
Yeah, after a few of them fires, you did have some mad dreams. So you did.
Yeah, since I got here, and so kind of lead paint is the thing that's.
I'd like to not use lead paint in this little structure here, but I'm liking this dry seasoned ash that we're using instead. Like,
I don't know, it doesn't give the same buzz really, you know.
nah, yeah, but
And I can feel my lifespan. It's not really shortening. But no, it's one of those things. You know, we have these conversations all the time, and like to be able to record them and share them with people, especially by a fire of all things.
yeah, I love the idea of a fire podcast. It's just something about a fire. It draws in conversation, no matter what. You know what I mean? You can't avoid conversation while sitting around a fire, unless, which I've had camps that I've kind of walked away from quite quickly. Someone brings a speaker.
A Bluetooth speaker,
man,
the killer of all
I
camps.
if someone breaks out a Bluetooth speaker at a camp, you'll see me just over that hill. Just, all right, well, it was nice chatting with you. I'll see you later. But yeah, no, fires are just an amazing conversation. They're just, I don't know, it's the most primeval, basic thing that we can have here. Like, you know what I mean? It's the giver and taker of life is the best way to put that one.
Yeah.
And it keeps you warm, doesn't it?
And if he's warm, everyone's happy.
Yeah. As long as Rocky's happy, that's what's important, isn't it? Eh?
Well, it's been a pleasure to sit and have that conversation with you.
Absolutely, mate.
and
Thank you for coming over.
Actually record one of our conversations. Cause
Yeah, we're definitely going into home after that one.
I think what we'll need to do is we'll need to take like the SD card out of the camera, put it in a little metal tin and bury it here.
I'd say burn it and then bury it, like it's a better way to do it.
So like, someone like Ogie will come along and dig it up like 1,000 years from now and go, what the hell was happening here?
Yeah, I don't think I want to even pass that on to generate. I don't mind passing trees on, but not the conversations that we have.
Well, I hope we have many more, and it's been a pleasure having you here, man.
Yeah, mate, thank you for coming over.
No, thank you.
And thank you for the help with this cool structure. The mayhem that is this structure.
So, we the next thing we're going to do is we're going to head up to the house shortly, I think, and Andrew's going to get his first tattoo. Some of you guys may know that I sort of do my own tattoos and bits and pieces, and Andrew's decided he would like a bit of ogham down his wrist,
Yep.
and so that's what we're going to shoot off and do.
Should be interesting.
But thank you guys for coming along and taking the time to watch, and I appreciate anyone that's managed to get to the end of this, because it's
Without falling asleep to my voice, but yeah.
no, we take some crazy tangents, I think, but that's sort of the idea of this.
That's what fires do, though.
This is it, yeah.
We've had some incredibly weird conversations
Oh, yeah.
around fires that started out with something totally normal, like.
Oh yeah, no, it can spiral pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for taking the time to watch, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. All the best.
Bye, guys.
Oh, there you go, dude. Easy as that.
Yeah, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Plant a tree to give body and life to one's dreams of a better world.
On bended knee is no way to be free. Lifting up an empty cup I ask silently. All my destinations will accept the one that's me, so I can breathe. Circles they grow and they swallow people whole. After lives they say goodnight to wives they'll never know. And a mind full full of questions and a teacher in my soul. And so it goes. Don't come closer or I'll have to go. Holding me like gravity are places that pull. If ever there was someone to keep me at home, it would be you. Everyone I come across in cages they bought, they think of me and my wandering, but I'm never what they thought. Got my indignation, but I'm pure in all my thoughts. I'm alive. Wind in my hair, I feel part of everywhere. Underneath my being is a road that disappeared. Late at night I hear the trees, they're singing with the dead overhead. Leave it to me as I find a way to be. Consider me a satellite forever orbiting. I knew all the rules, but the rules did not know me.